Of all the things that I don't remember about 2002, I have a very clear memory of the first time I met 50. And I think one of the things I noticed when he first walked into the room was his presence, right? Because it just kind of felt like he's gonna be a star.
The year is 2003, and you're partying like,
"It's your birthday."
And where can they find you?
In the club.
If you have sang along to those lines, then you're probably a man of culture, and 50 Cent is a must-have on your playlist. Throughout the years, 50 Cent has become both a legend and a villain, and there are a lot of facets to consider when people get to know the rapper. And when they do, they're either going to hate him or love him. 50 Cent has become a staple artist in the world of hip-hop. If you were alive during his peak, you know exactly what I mean. However, over the recent years, the rapper has been involved in a lot of controversies. From unapologetically insisting on his distaste for gay men, his unfiltered opinions on the music industry and its artists, assault cases, and leaking a sex tape featuring a rival's ex-wife, there seems to be nothing that could knock down his base. There will always seem to be a comfortable seat for him available at the table of the forgivable. With millions in net worth, production gigs still lining up, maybe even another album for him in the future, 50 Cent will remain as the 50 Cent, and there is nothing that could ever stop him. My name is Andrew, and welcome to Alecus. In today's video, we're going to get to know the legendary rapper, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. How he achieved his legendary status in the world of hip-hop. What do people love about him? What do people hate about him? And why is he still on top of his game despite all the odds? This is why 50 Cent can't be cancelled. During the early 2000s, hip-hop and rap were the tunes to break into, and the man of the hour making a name for himself was none other than the man in the club, Curtis James Jackson, better known as 50 Cent. 50 Cent is hailed as one of the greatest rappers of all time. He had become one of the early trailblazers for hip-hop and rap's brand of rebellious, unapologetic, and relentless character. An original bad boy of hip-hop, he breathed new life and brought a raw realism into what was at the time simply a typical rap stereotype. With his debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying, it has been revealed that most of the music that he had put out into the world had always revolved around the way he grew up. 50 Cent speaks to his background. At a young age, because of her connection to the drug game, his mother had been murdered while alone in their home, leaving young Curtis to be raised by his grandmother.
My mother passed when I was like 8 years old. I went to live with my grandparents. And she had me when she was 15, so, you know, back then it wasn't as common as the young girls have children at 15, a little more now than they did then. So at that point, she started hustling to be able to provide for me at that point. And she got killed.
With no one but himself to rely on, by age 12, Curtis would eventually turn to the same world of crime that took his mother from him. What his grandmother had thought was an after-school program was actually a business selling narcotics and drugs to his primary school. In 10th grade, he was eventually caught carrying firearms through a metal detector at the Andrew Jackson High School. That pivotal instance would go on to become the defining moment for the course that was set for his youth. In June 1994, he was arrested by an undercover police officer during a buy-bust operation for selling 4 vials of cocaine. 3 weeks after that, he was sentenced to prison for 3 to 9 years after being found with heroin, cocaine, and a starting pistol in his home. This, however, was only the beginning. He served 6 months in prison and made use of that time by earning his GED. Because of their similarities of people, it was at this time that he began using the nickname 50 Cent, after the infamous Brooklyn robber, as a metaphor for his relentlessness and surviving despite the odds stacked against him. With a taste for music, hip-hop was something else he was passionate about diving into. As he was trying to get by, his humble beginnings of rapping began in his friend's basement until he was eventually introduced to the influential DJ Jam Master Jay of Run DMC. Till this day, Curtis has credited Jam Master Jay as someone who significantly helped him improve and master his craft in music.
I got in the game. I met Jam Master Jay a while, like 3 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I was signed to JMJ Records for like a year. I recorded 18 songs with him. He kind of like, he taught me how to write in song format. Like,
Okay.
So he helped me a lot.
Eventually, he was signed onto Columbia Records and was finally taken into a studio in New York. There, he demonstrated his ability as a prolific producer and came out with an incredible 36 songs in just over 2 weeks. 50 Cent did nothing but impress. It was at this point that 50 Cent's notoriety started to take off. With his hit underground single How to Rob, it introduced him as someone ready to defy and offend the establishment. Jay-Z, Wu-Tang Clan, Corrupt, Sticky Fingers, Big Pun, and many others. Nobody was off limits. Earning the attention of said rappers, he was provocative, and that is something only a few would even dare to think of doing. "50 Cent was far from perfect. If you split open and dissect his music, a glance into his life would play out. Danger, crime, controversies, and struggle. He was someone that had all the odds stacked against him. While it made for good material for his music, it was also something that was being used to bring him down. And the fact that he's not big on apologizing for anything had also rubbed salt into the growing number of wounds that he was bleeding in. For example, 50 Cent had his fair share of homophobic slurs. But it was in a 2004 interview for a story that Playboy magazine was doing, where he openly spoke about his feelings toward the gay community. The rapper was quoted as saying, "I don't like gay people around me because I'm not comfortable with what their thoughts are. I'm not prejudiced, I just don't go with gay people and kick it. We don't have that much in common." As expected, these comments weren't well received with a growing pride community that was only bubbling during this time. That wasn't the only homophobic incident that 50 Cent was involved in. His 2010 statements had attracted much more attention than his remarks in 2004. This time specifically targeting outspoken gay blogger Perez Hilton. Perez had written something about the rapper that seemingly triggered him, but the rapper retaliated by tweeting something that many deemed offensive to the LGBTQ community. Perez Hilton called me a douchebag, so I had my homie shoot up a gay wedding. Wasn't his, but still made me feel better. In both instances, LGBTQ organizations had stepped up to denounce the rapper's statements. Women were also a frequent target of 50 Cent. Back in 2009, the fingers were pointed at 50 Cent when investigations came to light about who leaked Listonia Levingston, who's the mother of Rick Ross's child, 13-minute sex tape. The tape contained Levingston's participating in sexual acts with a man other than Rick Ross, and it seemed as though it was predominantly aimed to humiliate Ross, one of 50 Cent's many rivals. 50 Cent uploaded the video under the username Pimpin' Curly, where it was viewed over 4 million times. This invasion of privacy ended up costing him over $5 million. Then, in June 2013, model Daphne Joy spoke out about the domestic abuse that she had experienced through the rapper. She detailed how he had ransacked her bedroom at the height of an argument and left with over $7,000 worth of damages to her property. And lastly, with all the net worth and money that he has accumulated, the rapper ended up filing for bankruptcy in July 2015 while he complained and detailed how he was struggling to make ends meet because of judgments made against him. In the same year, however, Forbes estimated that 50 Cent still had $155 million in total net worth and the man was proudly posting pictures of himself dangling cash all over his social media accounts. With issue over issue piled upon one another, how has 50 Cent managed to stay in the limelight? Well, 50 Cent's run during his peak is something that no other rapper could ever do, and that earns nothing but respect. Throughout his career bathed in controversies that had already seemed like a curse to the rapper, his name is already cemented as one of the greatest of all times. The music he put out through albums, mixtapes, and singles sings his truth on his involvement in the world with rap classics, hip-hop beats, and bangers on the line. When you have heavyweights like Eminem and Dr. Dre behind you, there's no way you can be stopped.
So 50, congrats on your star, man. Hollywood is making official what I knew from the beginning and Dre knew from the beginning.
50 Cent's constant controversy is what keeps people's eyes glued to him. And he's used that controversy and those eyes to foray into different business ventures with incredible success. From book deals to boxing promotions, clothing labels to high-end headphones, and alcohol beverages to a slew of TV shows, Curtis Jackson has shown himself to have the Midas touch when it comes to his ventures. His original Power series has spawned off 3 highly acclaimed and highly successful spin-offs, further paving the way for more TV shows like Black Mafia Family and For Life, among others, to be produced by him. Throughout all the controversies, Curtis has been walking the talk on get rich or die trying. No matter how much he spits and blows, the legacy he built is too strong for all the waves coming at him. Giants like this cannot be moved. And that is why 50 Cent can't be cancelled. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and comment below. Let us know what you think about 50 Cent and his impact. What's your favorite 50 Cent song? Also, remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel.